Hi, everyone. Welcome. Now, I cannot tell if you can hear me. Acadia is a little under the weather, and we are waiting on Max to join us. So it's just going to be me, Mells, for the time being. Maybe during the entire show, who knows? This could just go on forever. So let's see. I don't see the chat. So we can go ahead and just go through a few things. First, there is a reason why I'm wearing this crown. I am wearing this crown because I called the season last week with Acadia and Max. If you will recall, they were wondering, how are we going to end this season of American Horror Story? What is Mr. Murphy and Mr. Fulchuk going to pull out for us? Were we just going to get the time travel, time reverse, and that kind of be it? Or what was going to be the real big twist of the season? Because it seems like Ryan has a little bit of a tendency to throw some kind of twist out there, or something that you weren't quite expecting. So what we learned, obviously, and we'll do a deeper dive and we'll go into more detail about things in a moment, but what we learned is the time travel and the reversal of the apocalypse via Michael Langdon was reversed by Mallory. She saved the day. She saved Queenie from ever going to Hotel Cortez, left Madison in hell for a little while to kind of learn her lesson, or, perhaps she needed to stay down there a little longer to become a little more humble. Not sure. And we flash forward, of course, and our teenage mutants, Tim M, have bumped into each other on campus. So apparently he got to go to UCLA, and it was all hunky dory. For some reason, exactly 1 year later, which I think they took things rather fast, they are having a baby. And a couple of years later, they're coming home from a date night, discussing, the terrible twos or the terrible threes that their son is going through. If you had taken note, when they got out of the car, you could tell, I believe this was supposed to be the telling of a blood moon, but the sky was red, the crows were everywhere. They were regarding about how hot it was in the house. They were going to call the repairman, kind of a lot of deja vu things going on there, things that we had already seen before earlier in the season. And they noticed the bloody handprint. Again, a lot of deja vu, back to even season 1. They come into the room, and their son, Devin, I believe was his name, or Devin, I think it was Devin. Anyway, he has killed his nanny, and he is in a very familiar flannel shirt with blood everywhere. And Tim M get a knock on the door, and it is Anton LaVey and his little group, including Miriam Mead. And they have obviously done like they did with Michael and watched for the signs, which has led them directly, kind of like, I guess, the Death North Star, or, because the North Star, I believe, is what, guided with Jesus. So, or maybe, I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm not very versed in a lot of Bible stories, but and they show up and they're ready to kind of, help Tim M out in raising the new Antichrist. So I called it. I don't want to rub it in too much, but I rewatched last week's episode, and I did call it about 3 times during the episode. That is why you see the king crown on me. And why I am so happy, because you know that I said a few times, more than once, you're never going to reverse history. You can't go back in time and really change a lot of things and mess with history. The inevitable is going to happen. So the apocalypse was stopped, for Michael Langdon, but the cycle started to repeat itself with the birth of Devin. And I don't think I ever recall Tim's last name, so I'm not sure what Devin's last name is. So it was just like, here we go again, and the second attempt or round 2 at Apocalypse. So let's see. Bear with me, y'all. I am going to see, because I don't think I have the chat on. This is what happens when your men's left you in your life. So I don't know. I'm sorry, y'all. I don't know about the chat. I think you can leave comments right now. So if y'all want to leave some comments, I'm watching. And so I can be on the lookout for that. But unfortunately, this is my first time doing this solo, and my first time running one of these at all. So I'm still learning as well. So let's see. Oh, never mind. I got my chat working. Okay, so I'm going to go through the chats real quick. Let's see. Hey, Cemetery. Hey, Terry. Damn fine. Hey, girl. Good to see you. Hey, Damiel. Hey, Jackie. Okay, so thank you for kind of sticking by. Oh, there was trouble leaving comments. So we don't have to worry about that now because I got the chat up. So you know what? You're right. I am an independent woman. I can find the YouTube chat all on my own. So let's see. Just want to make sure. Can you guys hear me now that I have the chat working? I mean, this can't be the worst live show I've done. So let's see. All right. Okay. So I got the thumbs up from Jackie. Thanks, girl. So since it'll be just us gals hanging out tonight, let's start by kind of going through a really quick recap. Obviously, I just kind of went through what the end of the show was, what the big twist was, what the reveal was. And so to start from the beginning, of course, we do see Myrtle going to Mutt and Jeff's place of business. Forgive me if it was ever named in the show. I didn't catch it. Hilariously enough, of course, she's going to meet Venable. I loved the fact that it was 2 fiery redheads sparring off. That kind of made my night super early. And, of course, Venable got a few quips in before, Myrtle snapped her into, the hush your mouth stage of, spell. But I love how Venable said, well, we could be here all day and I could be asking about the mystery of your hair. And after Myrtle snaps her, she tells her, my hair is a, magic wonder of the world. You'll never figure that out. And then she also made the quip about purple is for royalty, not for middle management. So snaps to Myrtle Snow. I've seen some comments online where people have said she's the most underrated character. I don't think I would say that about her per se, because I think that she's been very well played out and written and been a pivotal part of the series, now in more than one season. So to me, an underrated character is like Spalding from Coven. I mean, you know, he was just a very underrated character. But so of course, you know, Myrtle gets in there. She gets the information on Outpost number 3. I want to stop right here, and I do want to point out that I did a screenshot, and, you know, of course, I paused at every opportunity I could to check out the names on the Outpost lists. I hope some of y'all did that because it was actually pretty hilarious. There was Aaron Rodgers. There was E. Taylor, which I'm thinking not Elizabeth Taylor because she's, you know, been passed away. However, you know, I don't know, I mean, when this would have taken place, as in whose name got on the list. There was a B. Adams. I took that as Brian Adams, which why not? Why wouldn't he, you know, be on there? And so that was a little hilarious thing to me. Outpost number 3 was clearer than the rest of them. I couldn't really tell who was at the rest of the outposts. Yes, Dame. I want more Myrtle. I would love a Myrtle only miniseries or something. Maybe just telling Myrtle's backstory. I know we got some of it in Coven, but I would absolutely love some type of you know, 4 to 6 episode miniseries on the wonders of Myrtle Snow, because I could just, you know, every day of my life, she's my queen. Spalding was fantastic. I miss Dennis O'Hare also. I was surprised he was not in Cult that I can recall, because I know Kathy Bates also wasn't in Cult. And then not this season either. I don't think we've seen him since Roanoke, which I really liked his character in Roanoke, even though it was kind of short-lived / didn't have a complete story arc really, you know, on its own. So, my hair is never to be understood. You're right, Terry. That's exactly what she said. And I loved it. I loved every minute of it. And Jackie, you crack me up. Aaron Rodgers will be safe from the apocalypse. Yeah, we need those double, what is it? The double or the something discount at State Farm. But anyway, back to the story. This is what happens when I do it by myself. I'm, you know, I'm not the world's best at multitasking. But anyway, she puts a spell on Mutt and Jeff. She gets the St. Pierre's a guaranteed spot at the table there in Outpost number 3. As they know, that's going to secure Mallory and it's going to secure Coco. Moving forward, y'all might have caught it if you were really trying to read the names on there, but Dinah Stevens was the first name. And later on in the show, I felt more justified in thinking this, or some confirmation. I do believe that Myrtle saw her name on there, and I do believe that Myrtle made note of it, because, you know, they didn't know that she was the traitor, I don't think yet. So anyway, moving along, we get to the cabin. Cordelia basically lets them know, hey, I got to put you under an identity spell. Sorry, y'all. It is the double check. Yeah. Okay, anyway, I'm sorry, y'all. So, ADD. Tells them they have to go under an identity spell. Coco and Mallory have actually a touching moment. You know, it goes to show you that Coco really wasn't that malicious, obviously. They have a tender moment after she finds out that she's going to be modeled after Madison, which Madison says, you know, that's a markup for you. You know, that's an upgrade for you. But yeah. Cut to the great scene of them flying to Gallant's salon for the first time, talking about their crazy ass Uber driver and how, you know, just crazy she is. And of course, it is Madison Montgomery. She wants them to rate her 5 stars. I'm going to take this crown off because it's actually kind of bothering my head. So I didn't realize that it was kid size, which I guess I should have known because I only paid about $5.99 for it. So anyway, that's gone. They jump out, they move along, whatever. But the dynamic in the car between Coco and Mallory, you could already tell the identity spell was working pretty well. And as Madison is about to emerge back into traffic and leave, she sees none other than Dinah on the side of the bus with an advertisement for her new talk show. So let's see. Yeah. Damn fine. Coco made me cry. I was honestly shocked. I agree. Yeah, like that was a touching moment for me. And I thought, oh great, I'm really gonna go through all the feels in this episode, I can tell. So right, you're right. Okay, thanks, Jackie. That's right. I don't think they realized that Dinah, had betrayed them or anything like that. And I can't help but just in the back of my mind think that Myrtle saw that, but probably, maybe just kept in the back of her mind. Madison shows up, wants to burn a bitch, witch bitch, and she lets Cordelia and Myrtle know then that she sees Dinah's advertisement on the side of the bus, and that she definitely sold her soul to get a mainstream television show. So we'll go ahead and flash forward a little bit. I don't think there was anything, and y'all will have to forgive me. I made notes on my phone, and then I forgot to pull up my phone before I started this. But we go ahead, we fast forward, and it's post-apocalypse, and the Coven is seen kind of digging their way out of a shallow grave, I guess is what you would call it. They've buried themselves in the Louisiana mud for about 2 years. It's Myrtle, it's Cordelia, and it's Madison. We know they go and they resurrect our sisters that are in Outpost number 3. And that's kind of where we start right at episode 3, I believe it is the last episode we got before the term, go back in time, the death, and then all of that. So that was pretty much the last time we saw them anyway. And as we'd seen, there was an exchange between Cordelia and Michael, which is, Mallory and Coco are ready to step up and do what they need to do, even though they have no idea what that is yet. And Dinah is, I'm not going to participate with the Coven on this. If I have to pick sides, if I have to fight a battle, I'm going to go the winner. And of course, she goes and she kneels to Michael, which is exactly what, he wanted all of them to do, actually. Let's see. I like that cemetery. Maybe Myrtle didn't want to intervene with her sense of justice and all. Yeah, Cordelia had the premonition of them digging out. Yes, thanks, Dame Meow. You make a good point there, because I thought, well, we've kind of already seen a lot of this. This is footage that, we saw in flashback or, maybe visions, and then, things like that from the beginning. So, anyway, and Michael has a laugh. Everybody has a little giggle. I want to say that, let's see. Okay, so Cordelia's laughing. Half of what you said is true, Dinah. Yes, I did resurrect you. I did bring you back for a purpose. But actually, the purpose was not for you to show any allegiance to us or to help us in any way. It's because Papa Legba, which I wish Acadia hadn't have been feeling under the weather, that he had the Papa Legba theory as well, which definitely played into it. Papa Legba needed a soul, and I made a great deal with him that I would give him the soul that he wanted so badly in exchange for, something else. And so Dinah's confused by this. She doesn't really, she's like, what are you talking about? And then we get the queen, everything, the woman who looks like she's like literally fresh out of high school, Angela Bassett, Marie Laveau. She comes in and delivers her hard-hitting lines. They needed a real voodoo queen to help. And so she ends up offing Dinah. That's the trade-off, is that Papa Legba gets her soul, the baddest voodoo queen of all. Battle kind of starts to ensue at that point. They refuse to bow to Michael, and Cordelia puts a spell on Mead and blows her to smithereens. So, and we got super creepy, and I'm not going to say it was emotional as in I teared up or anything like that, but there's something that I've been kind of putting out there about when Ryan Murphy gets to the point in his seasons where he wants to kind of start humanizing someone. And I used this example one time when I was talking about Freak Show. Twisty the Clown, which was, the one of the villains, the twisted clown that was killing people, taking them to the creepy van, etc. And the minute that they started to humanize him, when we got his backstory and everything, is when I kind of lost steam for Twisty and for that whole storyline. It wasn't scary to me anymore. And I, once things get humanized for me, it's hard for me to go back to any kind of different type of thinking on it. And I do think that Ryan Murphy does this with at least one character, sometimes probably more than one, in all of his seasons. So this season, not the kind of humanization that you can really give for someone who's half, spirit, half mortal, who's supposed to be the Antichrist. But I think it illustrated a really important character flaw in Michael that we kind of saw after we went to the flashbacks, at the beginning of the series. We saw a very polished, Michael at the beginning of the series. Max brought that up last week. So things had to transpire for him to gain that confidence. But there's a character flaw in him that we were able to see as we kept telling the back end of the apocalypse that ultimately I think just played into his demise. And that's that there is a sliver of humanity in him. He is half human. And I think that is illustrated when you go back and you look at when he was confused at his behavior. I think that was genuine. I think that he truly didn't understand, obviously, what it is that he needed to fulfill, that we saw that all the way up through, the very end. He sort of became obsessed with the witches, and I don't think he was so focused on the actual apocalypse. So the character flaw that I believe Michael had all along was that little piece of human that it was inside of him, that little piece of Vivian, I guess, or whatever. It was too much. Even if it was just a sliver, it was too much for him to have fulfilled the prophecy of Satan. That's my viewpoint on it. I'll give you a big wide, theory, a couple of them that I have in my head from the series. But, Mead explodes in this weird song, Daisy, I don't know the song, never heard it. I'm going to check the chats in a moment. So if you know it, just throw it in there for me. But you could see that it was like all of a sudden he was back to that lost child. You know, at that point, it was just revenge on Cordelia. It was revenge on the witches. He didn't really, you know, that again, the apocalypse was not at the top of his list, right? Watching me die and losing her again, especially when she's supposed to be indestructible this time around, I think was, you know, an opportunity for Ryan Murphy to show that side of him to where it's like, oh God, I seriously am in trouble. I don't know what to do, you know? So let me look at the chats. Yes, Queen, she rocked it. Yeah. So glad they bought her back. Daisy, give me your answer. Oh, woo. I've never heard of that song, Cemetery. Is it something I'm missing? Probably should be something I know. Let's see. The season he planned it pretty well since it was late enough that it exactly. Right, Cemetery. He was pretty much still a kid in an adult's body. And you know, and that was the point I was trying to make last week about even if we're going with a 2020 timeline, let's say, Michael aged a decade overnight. Murder House was 2011. Let's just go ahead and say that it was, or 2012, one or the other, 2011, I believe. We'll just go ahead and say that it was the birth year of Michael. Even if we're in 2020, he's what, 9 years? I don't do the math very well. Let's see. Anyways, basically, you know that he is a child in an adult's body, right? And it was immaturity that I think he had inside of him all along. He had people pushing him. He had people directing him. He had people, you know, telling him what to do, et cetera, et cetera. But that immaturity inside of him, that uncertainty, that lack of self-confidence, that lack of knowledge, because honestly, I don't even know if anyone took the time to explain it to Michael. If they just told him, this is what you do, this is what you do, this is what you do. I don't know how much outside of the one scene we got at Murder House with LaVey, what all he was really told and what was supposed to happen, because ultimately he went to two tech nerds to get instruction on the end of the world or how to begin the apocalypse. So, you know, I think as the season went along, the immaturity in him grew, and that's ultimately what we saw at the end. Was I just don't think he was ever built to fulfill that prophecy at all. Excuse me. And meat exploding. Yeah, that was discussed. The Daisy thing. Okay, it's got to be from something. It would be even funny if it was something that was programmed into her mind when she was programmed to wipe out Michael's, you know, her knowledge of Michael and him being the Antichrist, because that was mentioned at the beginning. I'm wondering if it was just some, you know, random memory that Mutt and Jeff, you know, put into her memory card, you know, and it was just from something, you know, an old reference to something else, which is very much so possibility and probably what it is. So Angela Bassett, she jumps in. She is ready to ward him off, help out in any way that she can. And they run up the stairs as Madison is lighting him up with Mead's handgun. I'm finding a lot of little like funny quips here that anyway, so her handgun, and they knew that he would come back. So she's like, go do what you have to do now. I'll try to hold him off as long as I can. Which also I will give to Acadia's credit as well, even though he's sadly not with me. I wish that he was, because he would be basking in the fact that I am saying to him, Madison Montgomery had a total arc. She had a total character upgrade and character development, and I'm very, very glad that they redeemed her in that way, even though she knew she was going straight back to retail hell, and they're kind of keeping her down there for a little while longer. But I really enjoyed the redemption of Madison, because, you know, she kind of ended Coven where she wouldn't bring Zoe back, and then that was her demise, because she just wanted, you know, the power that bad of Supreme. So let's see. Oh, I love this conversation. I love this conversation. Since Michael was a kid in an adult's body, it makes total sense. That's why he gets so frustrated and confused with his destiny. I agree 100%. I mean, he was basically a kid getting pulled in multiple directions by multiple people. I agree with you, Jackie. I do. Dame Fine TV, I think you're right about timing. Backstory humanizing can work, but I feel like Murphy hasn't quite figured out how to nail it yet. And I agree with you 100% there. Like that's what we haven't really seen yet, is him actually take humanizing a villain or a protagonist, you know, whatever, antagonist. Y'all have to forgive me. Acadia is good with the words. He's smarter than me. So, but you know, the villain, and showing a human side of them, but not doing it in a cheesy way or a super campy way. That's what it seemed like to me. Throughout the whole, even in the beginning when Michael seems very polished.
Hi.
Max! You sucker! No, I'm kidding.
I know. And this is so informal. So this is like live from my bed. It's American Horror Story recap.
I love it, though.
Better late than never. Yeah, I've been under the weather a little bit. So.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
It's just I got my flu shot yesterday in the middle of a snowstorm, and so
oh no,
whatever. So what are we talking about?
I'm just kind of, actually I've just been rambling, and I've just been talking in the chats, you know, I like, you know, just reading out chats and talking in there. I kind of, well, you missed this part, but I got myself a crown.
It's so cute.
Because I, ding, 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 won the prediction contest for this year.
I'm not surprised. Which, on that note, how do we feel about the ending?
Well, yeah, let's go ahead and jump into that, because I was really just like going kind of not scene by scene, but like a group of scenes at a time, and then just blabbering on. So we can get a way more regimed here now that you're here. Personally, it's hard for me to say that this was my favorite season of his, because it moved up my list with the ending, but it didn't quote unquote replace anything, or well, it didn't really shift what my ratings are or my rankings are that much.
Mm-hmm.
But for a finale, I think he blew it out of the water. I loved about 95% of what happened. I haven't gotten into it with anyone in the chats yet about the 5% that I really thought you got to be shitting me on. But we'll talk about the positive first. I think that's called the sandwich, right? Like, you did this really well. Now let's talk about what you didn't do very well. So loved the selling of Dinah's soul to Papa Legba. I thought that was amazing. So I think you and Acadia both, I think Acadia might have led off with it, but, you know, got into that whole theory or a thought that Papa Legba was brought in for some reason. I wasn't smart enough to sit there and try to think what it could have been other than exactly what y'all said, which was he can control and he can do things, in his negotiations. So I just loved it that we got Marie Laveau back, even though it was for like a total of 7 minutes. But I'm going to get in the chats in a minute. But yes, Jackie, it does. I'm getting there. It took me 30 minutes to get there, but I'm getting there. I loved that. The shitting me is that she didn't stay long. My hope is that when time reversal happened, she stayed out of hell because Papa Legba kept Dinah. That's my hope. The other are you shitting me thing was literally they fucking ran over Michael.
I thought it was so campy though. And that's what I liked about it the most.
Well, I will tell you, it was incredibly campy. It was, and my brother-in-law, I had to give a shout out to him, Brad. He and I were talking about the finale, and he told me, he said, I actually kind of like the simplicity of it. I kind of liked that they didn't go all the way back and, start from the beginning of Michael and try to prevent all of that. He said, I liked that it was kind of simple in the fact that we went back to a scene that we'd already kind of saw bits and pieces of already. And then he just fucking gets creamed in the road, kind of like what I was saying. This was obviously before he was eating hearts, right? And he was like gaining strength and all this stuff from Black Mass and all that. But literally that's all you had to do. I mean, he was so human at that point of his life that it was just like, one more for good measure, and then I'm getting the hell out of here. See you later, bitches. That was the other are you shitting me? But things I loved the redemption of Madison. I loved the redemption of Constance, because we can get into that a little bit more, but I'm not really 100% sure that that's how it went down with Constance initially. So we can get into that later, but I enjoyed the emotional scenes between Coco and Mallory before they had the identity spell put on them. Was a little cheesy because I'm not really big into like emotional stuff. I mean, I got teared up at it, but I was like, get this shit out of my horror TV. I want to see something else,
I thought it was really funny how they just glossed over the fact that they're like, oh yeah, and all of your family and your parents are going to die in this.
Listen, you missed it. We gave the snaps earlier that we were Myrtle Snow. Let me tell you, she will not only read you for filth, Miss. Royalty is for
Venable.
It's not for middle management, babe. And also my hair is a mystery to never be, solved. Explained. Only will she read you for filth when she went in there and told them, oh no, yes, you're going to make sure this is done. And I just hate to have to, leave before I kill you, dead. But she was so casual about, well, unfortunately, dear, I've got a mug, the faces of Michael Myers, by the way, which is, they're all the same. Anyway, where she was like, yeah, no, they're just going to die. Don't worry. They'll be far enough away to where you won't have to worry about, missing them that much. And we can't let them, get into the bunker or whatever. But I was like, shit, man.
Well, the thing that they could have said to at least kind of make that less awkward was, but when we rewind time, your family's going to be back because the apocalypse will be averted. So it won't matter anyway.
True.
Just by saying that could have completely assuaged her and kind of just like changed the the outcome. That's like one of those things that were just, even though I do think this episode stuck the landing for the season, there were still a lot of Ryan Murphyisms that I just like, again, bringing back Angela Bassett only to just have her die a few minutes later. I thought she was going to show up or get a mention in the little montage at the end where it was like the new timeline where everyone was kind of reset.
Exactly.
Like that she was just kind of like backed, but now just like there was like a balance between the voodoo and the witches, and that which should have been there. I like that. The one thing that there are some pretty glaring plot holes in the rewriting time, and one of those is Murder House and the absolution of the spirits didn't happen.
Yeah.
unless
Okay.
unless because unless because of that weird kind of like soul heaven and hell paradox, like it's exempt from it because it's a spiritual thing, which that's kind of hand wavy, but hand wavy is better than plot hole at the end of the
Yeah.
day. So like I could take that because like for the ghost it's like eternity is like there is no time. So if there is no time, then maybe just by virtue of them correcting that in the spirit world, there, that reset didn't affect it.
Right.
And what's interesting is that you had pointed out that was odd that Constance had that change of heart. So I'm wondering if that had something to do with by saving the spirits, some of the spirits the first time, it like brought the energy, like there was like less evil in the house, so she was kind of like her eyes were open. It
Yes.
righted some of the wrongs there, and I don't necessarily think that what they did broke the curse of Murder House, but I definitely feel like it set some wrongs right.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% there. I mean, I don't think it really didn't do anything different for Murder House other than Ben getting a chance to be Ghost Daddy uh and then Michael getting just offended and getting his feelings hurt more by real Daddy Tate, who's like, you didn't come from my nutsack. And then you got Ghost Daddy that's like, you got to stop burning people up, Michael, So, I mean, like, I think and I'm hoping that what happened with Constance was, and this is, I get temple sometimes because I really start thinking a lot into, I guess maybe if I were telling the story, right? Maybe that's what it is. But I like to think like what you just said, because at some point, even at the end, Cordelia was like, do I know you to Mallory? So I think there was some remnant of what had happened already and then the apocalypse being thwarted, right? And I think that going back in time for Constance, I think she stood up and she wanted to piss him off and she wanted to, get him to where he would leave. I don't know if she was necessarily in on they were going to like run over him and kill him, but it just seemed very different than what we got in the first shot of that episode where she was just like, I can't believe you've killed someone else and I'm just going to go over to the murder house and kill myself. And that's the end of it. It just didn't seem like they had gotten into a fight, I guess I should say. So, right. And I honestly, the way that Constance is, I wouldn't even have put it past when they went to the murder house for that episode if she didn't want to just let Myra go. If it wasn't so much, I'm tired of hearing that bitch, complain and not clean my house. As much as it was, she had just probably, she had killed herself at that point, but also kind of realized that she had failed every child she tried to raise. Like, I was just wondering if at that point, too, she was trying to right some wrongs.
You're looking for like absolution.
Exactly. Before she gave them, the information that they really needed to kind of defeat Michael in the end, right?
That's true. Yeah, that's interesting. It is almost a little bit of a redemption for a pretty unredeemable character.
Well,
it's a sad character.
I know. It is. And like when she had that moment with Michael, I got kind of emotional at that. And it was only because I felt from her aspect, it's probably just like that moment you realize this would have been, the fifth child. She had 4, right? So this would have been the 5th child that
I don't remember the little girl. I didn't get that.
You know what? She was never in Murder House. They mentioned her one time, and I think it's when Constance first met Vivian. She said, I've raised 4 kids. There's never really another mention of her. And then No Eyes Nancy shows up in the Murder House episode, and I'm like, what is somebody going to explain why she has a random kid over there with no fucking eyeballs?
Yeah.
I mean, and yes, sorry, everybody in the chat. It's backwards, but I wore this shirt because it says HBIC, which is what Marie Laveau said to Michael, you messing with the HBIC now. And that quite worked for her because she still got her heart ripped out and eaten. But so what were your favorite parts, or what did you think about what did you think about the finale, and what did you think about the season overall with the finale?
Well, first of all, I just want to make sure I'm on air because the thing at the top of the things on my screen says off air.
No, you're here. Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, just checking.
Honey, I went like 15 minutes without a chat, so we're just shooting the shit at this point. So yeah, I see you though.
Okay. So other thoughts? Wait,
yes. What did you think of the finale?
I think that he stuck the landing as much as he possibly could have. I think that it tied everything together without there being too many loose ends, which for American Horror Story standards, that's pretty phenomenal. I also think that aside from those 2 episodes that I've complained about ad nauseum in the last live recap, the pacing this season was actually pretty good. It was weird. The extended flashback thing was odd.
Yeah.
But I have to say they took a risk and it was different. And I know a lot of, some of the comments I've read on various blogs have said that they think this is one of the stronger seasons since the earlier ones, which I agree with. I think that this is up there compared to a lot of the last couple of years of American Horror Story.
Yeah.
And I think it breathed new life in it. But is that because of trying something new and just learning the mistakes of the past? Ooh, or is it because it's a sequel to Coven and Murder House, and we've already have these existing characters? I don't know. I almost feel like maybe we've picked up some momentum, and next season will be something that's very, that stays good and fresh. I always think that, which hopefully is the Invasion, as we've theorized, the Body Snatchers inspired season. I always think that Ryan Murphy does better with the more fantastical seasons. Did you boot me? What just happened?
I moved my Taco Bell bag out of the view of my camera. Anyway,
I think he does better with the more fantastical seasons. Asylum aside, because I think Asylum was pretty strong. It had fantastic elements to it. But when you look at seasons like Hotel and Murder House and Coven, the ones that have a very strong... He's good with mythologies, places that have a strong mythology. The weakest season for me, I would think, was Cult, which I never even finished, mostly because of anxiety.
Yeah.
And then Roanoke, I thought, was experimental. And then Freak Show, I think, could have been, again, 6 episodes and ended there, and that would have been all the better for it. But yeah, no, I think he does better when he's dealing with the fantastic, and we got that in this season,
for sure.
In a lot of ways. I again feel like this should have been the last season. I don't know what the next one's going to bring unless it crosses over other previous American Horror Stories. Let's talk about that ending, though. You were right again, but
let's talk about the ending, though. Just because I was right doesn't mean that I necessarily think that...
Are one of them is the ghost? Because the whole deal has to be that the spawn of the devil has to be born of spirit and human. So I didn't really think that what was going on there.
So that was one of the things that I was going to talk about as far as like a bigger theory that I kind of had playing in my mind as I was watching the episode. And then definitely at the end when we just saw Satan be reborn. the Tim M, I call him Tim M. We knew that they had some genetic makeup that brought them into the outpost without a ticket or without being paid into that, right?
Yeah.
And so that's why I kept saying to myself that I just don't think he would introduce that, even though he did it with all the pretty much the quote unquote apocalypse characters that were in Outpost 3. I mean, they just died and that's it. I mean, you know, whatever. But there was so much emphasis on them. And there was a lot of emphasis on their procreation while they were in Outpost 3. So I have like two different things that I think of when I think of this. One, that super genetic makeup that they had, was that actually that they have something inside of them? I don't know if it is a family trait. Yeah. But if they had something that happened in their genetic, you know, makeup while they were in the womb or whatever, that made them perfect to be spawns.
Right.
And I can't see your video anymore. So it's just, yeah, it's okay though. Oh, wait, there you are. Okay. So, and then what, oh, my theory for that, because both of them lead back to Satan, actually. In that theory, did Satan at some point realize that
Michael wasn't going to cut the mustard?
He wasn't going to cut the butter, okay? Because, and I was saying to them at the beginning, his immaturity and his lack of knowledge, lack of guidance, lack of, you know, whatever you want to call it, he was not prepared for what he was prophesized for, right? And he always had that, I'd call it like that bratty side to him, which was, I would think, is the human side of it. I don't think he cared enough about the apocalypse more than he cared about a vendetta against the coven.
Yeah.
And I think that at some point during his life, and it was probably around the time that he got killed, maybe that's the reason why they chose that time to run him over, is did Satan at some point realize, okay, I'm just going to have to let him do what is going to play out with him. And I know that this is going to happen. Like, I know already the future of everything. You know, I'm going to have him remade, the Antichrist that is, by some genetic, you know, I can find a genetic way through these. It's almost like, because both of my theories go on a predestined Satan, you know, how we always say in God's eyes that we have a predestiny, right? He already knows our life and he knows what's going to happen. And then, you know, right. And that's how our life plays out. I'm almost wondering if it was something like that with Satan, though, where he's like, okay, I know that I'm going to have to do a dry run, which is Michael. It's probably, or it's not going to work out or whatever. And then I can rectify, or I can try to fix my wrongs through doing it again with these super genetic babies. You know, something like that. Or kind of like how I was saying that perhaps a piece of the future stayed when we got time reversal. So kind of like how we were talking about with Constance, where it was like, I wouldn't even be surprised if she had a recollection or had a memory in her from the future. So when she went back to her original, you know, self, or her, you know, older self or whatever, she could change it. What if Satan allowed Tim M to procreate in the outpost for a reason? So even though everything got reversed, some type of seed or some type of something was planted already there. You know, because it's got to have a supernatural element to it. And one thing I pointed out to Acadia is the rubber band man was there at both conceptions. And we know Tate was in the suit in the murder house, but I don't even know. Would it have even been Michael that really was in that suit? Because you'd think it would be defeating the purpose if he knew that I can watch another Antichrist be made, or maybe it was, and that was Satan's way of getting another baby out of the deal. I don't know.
Yeah, good question.
Those were the two things that stuck out in my mind. I was like, obviously, I had kind of already thought that he's not, there's no way to end the season on a very hunky-dory where, oh, everything's right with the world. Queenie never goes to Hotel Cortez. She gets to live. I loved that. Okay, yeah, that was in my 95% well done. I really liked that. Madison stays in hell a little longer. You know, I didn't think that it was going to be the hunky-dory, and that's why I kept thinking, what's this twist going to be? And, you know, the twist coming out of it just happening again, you know, where's to go with that? I don't know. I
kind of like it just to be left in that kind of cliffhanger. I don't really think it needs to get addressed.
Well, yeah. Well, that and that's the whole thing is I kind of hope, and this is going to sound really bad as an American Horror Story like fanatic, really. I kind of hope they don't do any more crossovers. Okay. I don't want any more mashups, because not that I didn't enjoy the fan service, or not that I didn't enjoy how all of this, you know, was brought together. What I kind of didn't like is that what we discussed last week is a really bomb-ass theory, or a season that could have been bomb-ass, was made into this kind of star-crossed, you know, crossover, and at the end it just started from the beginning again. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think it goes back to what we were saying in the last episode. It's like, well, where do you go after the apocalypse? I feel like the next 2 seasons will just, and I really think if there should just be 2 more seasons. I think it, you know, these things need endings. I think that the next 2 seasons will just be, you know, the last 2 ideas.
Well,
doesn't touch, and maybe the final one will be a crossover of some sort to kind of close the gap on all of them. Maybe it'll just be called American Horror Story, and it will be like all these evil places played their part, and now we're gonna like gonna be like interweave all of them. Which if I think this series needs to go out on a crazy note and needs to just be completely over the top. That's really how it has to end. But I'm interested to see. Usually around summer, we know what the next, or like July, August is when we find out what the next season will be. So we'll just have to wait.
Yeah. I mean, and like you and I talked about, I'd be totally fine with it being a you know, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, or, you know, some type of alien story. I'd like to see it get away from even really trying to tie it into any other kind of season, you know, because we've had that with, Asylum. Let's see. It was Freak Show that started tying into things. Asylum being what it tied into with Pepper, right? Because yes. So we already knew about Pepper from Asylum, but they tied her in through Freak Show. Hotel, they tied in Murder House with Dr. Montgomery botching the Countess's, you know, late term abortion or whatever, you know, that little Bartholomew came out of. You know, so that's when he started trying to tie stuff. And I'd like to see one where it's just original, like doesn't have anything to do with anything else, you know, like something fresh.
Yeah. That.
Well, that's true.
I don't recall if Cult ever tied in anything from the other seasons, did it?
No, well, no, just You know, I didn't like the fact they blew that guinea pig up in the microwave. I don't know if you've seen that episode or not,
I
but
got that far.
yeah, because in Murder House, they pretended to blow up Vivian's dog. And I was like, y'all got to quit putting animals in the damn
Yeah,
microwave
stop
on
doing
this show.
that.
I don't appreciate it. No, I don't think Roanoke was really experimental for them. And that's why I said I really loved it up until the reality show part of it was over with. And I think this was an experiment, the second experimental, season where they thought, well, maybe we can try to tie in, make some kind of complete story.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but high points for me from the episode would be Madison being an Uber driver. I would give her 5 stars in a heartbeat. I mean, that was amazing. It was hilarious to me. Billy Eichner, when he came back as Brock, that was a total surprise. I mean, when we left the outpost, I had it on my mind for like 2 episodes. I was like, I'm still not getting what part Brock, because they don't even know that Brock's there. Like what part is he going to play in it or whatever. So I liked that because that gave you all the suspense of, oh shit, it's not going to happen. It's not going to work out, and the apocalypse is really going to happen. We did get the Cordelia sacrifice. Did you find it satisfying?
I knew it was all going to get undone anyway, but I was like, symbolically, the fact that she was so, the opposite of her mother, that she was so self-sacrificing in that way to give Supremer powers. Yeah, I mean, that was great.
Yeah. It was super. I loved it. And not only to kind of be a middle finger to Fiona as well, but also the middle finger to Michael, because she didn't even give him the satisfaction of killing her, which again goes back to my whole thing about him being way too immature and the human part of him, being too center focused on, I'm mad at the witches and, it's like playground rivalry or whatever, it's like, I got to get them. I'm not really worried about ending the world right now. So her whole speech to him was so accurate about, you're just a scared little boy. You don't know what you're doing. Where's your father now? He didn't give you any direction. I mean, all that was true. And so that was very satisfying. Let's see. I mean, I loved it that Constance left him in the road, told him to go to hell. You could tell for a moment, though, in her eyes that she wanted to pull him into that house, but I think that she probably realized if she took him over there, that would just, like, he would become a spirit, and then what kind of malevolent thing could become of that, right? Like, and everything's hunky-dory at the, at the coven, and then we get this rebirth. And I did have a question, because even though we went back in the timeline, for Tim M to meet and procreate and a couple of years go by, which I thought was extremely fast. I mean, my God, you meet somebody and 3 months later you're pregnant by them. But anyway, they moved a little quick, in my opinion. But I don't think the timeline matched up exactly to Michael, meaning when he was killed, was that the conception, or was that some kind of intercrossing with what we got at the end? But I think it was like further into the future. I just thought it was funny how, because the whole way that LaVey and them found Michael was they followed the star, the dark star or whatever. I was going to say Death Star, but that's obviously incorrect. And I thought that they said that didn't happen that often, but I guess they just meant as in that's how you know when the Antichrist is born.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the end of it was just like, you could have at least maybe put the child in a regular shirt, not like a blue flannel one. I mean, like, you can make some things different about it, it was just, he killed the nannies in the rocking chair, and he's in a blue flannel shirt. I'm just like,
the battle between good and evil.
Yeah.
Wages on.
And I do love the fact that the continuation of the thought, because I don't think he's going to revisit. I don't think he's going to revisit this season, because in 2 seasons, I think he's going to have to hang the hat up, because I think that it's kind of, I don't think it's losing steam, but I think it's getting to the point where people are like, well, how are we going to end this? Right.
Yeah.
But so I don't think he's going to revisit the apocalypse or going to do Apocalypse Part 2 or anything like that. But, if you continue on the thought in your mind, just like, oh man, like in that part of the American Horror Story universe, what happened? I like to think they, unlike Constance, LaVey and them found him when he was young enough to where they could probably raise him up and train him up to actually follow through with the apocalypse, unlike Michael. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Then just wouldn't stop him again.
Well, right, exactly. Yeah. So I mean, Mallory sees a secret weapon. If they do attack again, or whatever you want to call it, I guess she would already know what to do with this. Thank you, Natasha. Anastasia, I meant, for that dry run, because then that gave us a dry run apocalypse too, right?
Yeah, they know to, and Mallory kind of lets it on that she's like, this isn't over. We know to expect it. It's going to happen again.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so I do want to talk about what your thoughts might have been on Misty Day and Nan bringing Misty Day back, and that whole exchange. I mean, did it warm your heart, or did you roll your eyes? And I want honest opinion.
I will tell you my thoughts, and I probably have to sign off because that melatonin is starting to kick in.
That's okay.
But it was definitely kind of like very stuffed in there to kind of just like, we got to wrap everything up right now. And I could tell it was, and just kind of, it was very kind of like sketch comedy, and like, oh, what's going on? Why is there flickering lights, and why is Nan here with Misty Day? And like, just like, they were good, like putting the very just quick writing in to kind of just like skip over it.
Yeah.
I'm glad Misty Day is out of hell.
In the
first place. I'm glad that she's back. I love Lily Rabe, so it just, that made me happy, and Nan's happy. It just it kind of just was another like balance has been restored to the universe, which I like that.
And I was glad. Yeah, and I was glad to see Misty. I mean, I think for Lily Rabe, Misty is the best character that she ever, got. And so I'm glad that the character Misty had a happy ending as well. She came back. I just thought it was incredibly like, and maybe I'm just a cold-hearted person, but I was like, all right, let's okay, we got it. You and Cordelia are back together, and wow, Kim, it's nice to meet you, Mallory. And cheeky wink from Nan about Mallory, all of the demons in hell owing Mallory a little something and this and that. And I'm just like,
it's so extra that it's like, okay,
too extra.
If you go, as long as you're going all in, I will be there.
Yeah, like, exactly.
I really think that Frances Conroy and Lily Rabe are the MVPs of this whole series, and why they haven't made them main characters. Yeah. It's just because, like, we know that the next season is going to be Sarah Paulson in another wig, Evan Peters, which it always goes good Evan Peters, bad Evan Peters. I wonder what we're going to get next season, because he was 8 different Evan Peters this season. He was 2 new Evan Peters, who were both kind of shitty. So I guess he's got to be good in the next season.
The man played 4 characters, right? He played March, he played Tate, Gallant, and then Mutt or Jeff, whichever one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Sarah Paulson, I guess she did the same thing, because she was Billy Lee, or Billy Dean Howard, excuse me. Venable, and Cordelia. So she had 3. But anyways, that's neither here nor there.
Oh,
It's
look,
just
she's got. So Evan Peters played the most. So
yeah, well, why not? I mean, he's the star of the show. Before I let you go, first I want to say thank you for joining me.
sorry
Obviously,
for the
you're
later
feeling
on.
under the weather. It's definitely that time of the year. Last week and last weekend, I had like a really bad scratchy voice and everything, and it was so annoying. So it's definitely that time of year. And so thank you for coming by and talking about it with me. I do want to ask, this is totally not American Horror Story related, so y'all, excuse me, but it is FX and Ryan Murphy. Have you watched Pose?
I should have watched Pose. I haven't yet because when it was airing originally, I was in New York and I didn't have cable.
Uh-huh.
Which is one of the great things about coming home is that I got free cable. If it's on demand or any other way to watch it, I would absolutely love to watch it because I know it's got a second season. And besides, like, I love Paris is Burning, and I love all of that, like, that culture and how that came about. So I'm very eager to watch Pose. And
Well, yeah, and so I will tell you, I think, because I think you and I have similar taste in
yeah, oh, definitely.
I actually binged it again at the urging of my brother-in-law. So thank you, Brad. I binged it, and I mean, I wasn't expecting to binge it. I was expecting to be like, okay, I'll watch a couple episodes. I couldn't stop. And the first season only has 8, so it's not like I spent a ridiculous 17 hours watching it. But it was. This is like what we were talking about last week with Ryan Murphy. When it comes to something other than American Horror, he can knock it out of the park. And even if it's, obviously like Gianni Versace or O.J. Simpson trial, something historical, he can also write something incredible about different topic matter. And I mean, I could not, honestly, that has moved up to like one of my favorite shows. So I think that you would absolutely love it. It's an easy watch, as in you literally turn it on and then you can't believe it's already time for the next episode of it. But it's obviously the most diverse cast. A lot of our transgender actors and actresses, a lot of inclusion. I loved it. I love that whole scene. Like, that's one of my favorite things to learn about history because it's fascinating to me, and I love what it stood for and the empowerment that was coming from it, right? And we do get some of our favorites in there. I honestly didn't realize how much I loved Billy Porter until I watched Pose, and then I was like, wow, this man is amazing. Of course, Evan Peters is in it. I think he's been in everything that he's done except maybe probably not the 2 crime stories. But anyway, he is in it, plays an incredible role, of course. And then James Vanderbeek, Dawson Leary. It's just an amazing show. So I'm plugging it for everyone watching, and I'm also pitching it to you that I think that you will really enjoy it. So yeah, maybe when you take your migration to Australia, you'll have that'll be a good time for you to save it to binge because you'll have some time, right, to catch up on stuff.
All right.
Okay. Well, Max, feel better. Thank you for coming by. I'm going to catch up in the chat, and I hope to talk to you really soon. Do you have anything you want to say about your podcast or anything like that?
So I just dropped what I think is one of the best episodes that I've done of the 2 seasons that Relic has been on. It was on the Dirac affair.
Yes.
So Relic, the Lost Treasure podcast, I investigate world's most infamous lost treasures and artifacts. This season is focusing on true crimes and kind of like paranormal and creepy treasures. So it's called Crimes and Curses. I kind of alternate. So last one was a crime, next one will be a curse. But yeah, the Dirac affair, it was nuts. The research, I just like kept turning up these crazy twists and turns. So yeah, definitely check it out. I'm also at Twitter at Lost Treasure Pod. I say a lot of ridiculous things. It's fun, but yeah, definitely check it out.
Yes, yes. So, and I agree. I'm looking forward to listening to the episode. I love everything that you've put out. So again, thank you so much. And I hope you feel better, okay?
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure it's more fatigue than anything. I will be as fit as a fiddle in the morning.
All right. Well, you get you some beauty rest then. How about that?
All right. Sounds good.
Bye,
Going to
Max.
bed.
Thanks for coming by.
Bye, Nels.
Okay, so I'm gonna catch up in the chats. Let's see. Oh man. Yeah, who is he? Michael Myers. That's hilarious to me, Cemetery Doll, because I'm like, am I watching Michael Myers right now? Means like what? And also, yes, Michael Myers is on my mug. Let's see. Survive 50 plus, yeah, getting hit by. And I think that she was successful in killing him because he was not eating hearts, and etc. At that point, and I think that he was just super humanly vulnerable at that point. So let's see. Damn fine, yeah. More witchcraft and not vehicular manslaughter. That's true. It would have been funny to see some spells or something be put on him. Oh man, yeah. Damn fine. Cemetery Doll. I just want to believe that Myra still got her happy ending. If that was a condition or a term of this, which we may never know, it may have played out where this was an elaborate plan, and that's why Constance told him to go to hell and refused to save him. And maybe what happened in that part of the future with Beholden and Madison, maybe it still came true. Maybe Myra was still remained in the afterlife, and who knows what Constance did after that. I mean, she may have died of natural causes. She may still be alive. She may have gone over there and killed herself and ended up part of the house anyways. You never know. So especially you think about that, because it's like she was really glad to be reunited with her children, especially No Eyes Nancy, that we had no idea who she was. So let's see. Yeah, cemetery. And no, that was another thing, is I thought it was a son that Constance had, and not a daughter, obviously. But let's see. The genetics are fishy. Yeah. Murphy, okay, Dame's got some great stuff in here. Murphy did an interview where he said the rubber suit was a demon. The demon inhabits the rubber suit, but doesn't only exist in that form. He could have easily possessed him and conceived another child. I agree. I really agree, Dame. That obviously, once I saw how it ended, and I kind of put two and two together, and I was like, wait a minute. When they did hook up in the outpost, the creepy rubber band man was right there the whole time. So that was the commonality between, the creation of both Antichrists. So let's see. I think Cody Fern is going to be a staple, especially after this season's performance. I talked about it last week, but I think that he is an amazing actor. I think that he is just, about to blow up on the scene and get really famous, or more famous than he is, maybe I should say, or become more of a household name. I knew him originally from the assassination of Gianna Versace, and I thought it was wonderful, and that is David. So he has to become a staple. I mean, I'm not going to say he boots Evan Peters out of anything. Y'all will never hear me say that, but he might. So let's see. Dame Meow, there was a theory that the seasons represent the 9 circles of hell. Which one was this season? That's a good one. And so we have limbo, lust, gluttony, greed, anger, heresy, violence, fraud, and treachery. This would be actually a really good question for when Acadia and I return, or we figure out exactly what we're going to do in the off season of American Horror Story. I think this would be a great conversation piece as to, you know, what this season might have represented in Dante's Inferno, because to me, it could have represented several things. Let's see. Oh, can't answer for the season, but when I saw Limbo, I immediately thought of Murder House and Hotel. Yeah, for sure, damn fine. That the similarities also, and that just goes back to themes and things that Ryan Murphy kind of does. The limbo thing, of course, as soon as I saw what was happening in Hotel, I thought, okay, this is a lot like Murder House. And now that Apocalypse is wrapped up, we've learned that they're both Hellmouths, really. So I suppose that's why they're spirit traps, you know, for wayward souls, I suppose, or, you know, whoever is unfortunate enough to get trapped there, I guess I should really say. Fraud, Michael wasn't fit enough for an Antichrist. That was one of my first thoughts, damn fine, was, I mean, and Fraud would be using it very, I think, high level. Because I don't think it was an intentional fraud. I think it was an accidental fraud, as in, oops, you just couldn't cut what daddy needed you to do, which he has a terrible track record with dads. Bless his little heart. Let's see. Billy Lord was amazing as Mallory. I think that was the perfect role for her. I really love Billy Lord. I liked her as Winter in Cult, and I just really liked the character that she was given this year. So I hope that she will be back next year with an equally amazing character. And also, I do want to say, anyone who is obviously Ryan Murphy fan, or you don't even really have to be if you watch Scream Queens, I don't know if y'all caught the reference, and I'm pretty sure it's the reference, and you know, because it's been a while since I've seen Scream Queens, but when Gallant said, I can't really do your hair with your church mouse hanging around, and she said, well, she's supposed to be getting me my macchiato at exactly 120 degrees. You know, I thought that was hilarious, as I do believe that was Emma Roberts' character, Chanel, number whatever, because I'm not gonna lie, that kind of confused me a little when I was trying to watch the show. You know, that was a great call to her character. I thought that was cool. Day Meow, you like that she wasn't around, she was hanging with Stevie. I like that too. What I like about it is that was also kind of a great thing for Missy's character, is she just spent however long in hell, and, you know, she's come back. She's helped to tell Cordelia that something's not right with Michael. And then she goes off on, you know, Stevie Nicks World Tour. And I really liked that too, especially because in the time reversal, she had to go back to hell, but was released and came back. So let's see. Evan did do the most this season. Y'all, like, as if I couldn't love him as an Evan Peters enough. I mean, fell in love with him on American Horror Story, obviously. Then he played my favorite X-Men character, which is Quicksilver. So fell in love even more. And then watching him in Pose, I'll try not to go on and on about that show, but it's amazing to me. Watching him act, and that was amazing. And so I honestly think that there's nothing that Evan Peters couldn't do. He's amazing at playing very diverse characters. Let's see. Damn fine. Yeah, Madison and Chanel are the same character. I'm completely fine with that because it's also hilarious that it's Madison as well. It's been, I think it's been a little bit going on, over an hour. I won't keep y'all all night. I want to say thank you for joining me. Obviously, this was my first time doing it by myself, so I hope I didn't bore you to tears, but I really enjoyed it. I had a great time talking with y'all in the chats. I am looking forward to the next season of American Horror Story. I hope we get something super original after this. Not that Apocalypse wasn't an original concept in and of itself, but it was already written to have elements of this crossover in it anyway, because Michael was born in the murder house. So I'm hoping to get something really super original, something that maybe gets, a whole new slew of characters, no returning characters, things like that. Although I don't know if I really hate Venable now that I've seen her through the season. Let's see. Angela Bassett was not on screen long enough. I hated to see her go the way that she did. I love Myrtle. I love that she burnt Brock up yesterday's cheese toast. I hate that Mallory's head exploded, but I thought it was pretty cool. I also read something where someone pointed out that all of her deaths have had to do with her neck up. Fiona slit her throat. Kyle choked her, and then she got her head just blown off by Michael. I think that Cordelia's death couldn't have been better. Her sacrifice, I knew that she would sacrifice herself for her girls. That's what did make her different Supreme than her mother, make her a better Supreme, an ultimate Supreme. What else? I mean, I'm glad that some characters got some redemption. I feel that Constance was one of them. I'm a little stuck in my heart because I think that probably Tate and Violet are back to not liking each other anymore, though, which is fine. Did they even deserve a happy ending? I mean, whatever. Let's see. No, I don't want to sell it short by not mentioning some things that I thought were very well done. I think he did a great job ending this season. I wish that we could have had a little more past identity spell and into perhaps how Michael's hair grew so long, etc. Because they did the jump, obviously, to Back to the Future, so I kind of wish I'd seen more of that and maybe less of some of the backstory. I am glad that Papa Legba wasn't brought back in some type of vain way, as in it's just filler, because at the time I thought it was just filler. And so I love that Mallory saved Queenie from ever going to the Hotel Cortez, which I suppose some things were undone in that season as well. I wonder who March, played solitaire with. Bless his heart. I guess he did it by himself, which is what solitaire is. So yes, Violet needs to away from Tate. Not gonna say anything. Thank you, everyone. Meow, thank you so much. Jackie, damn fine. Terry, thank you for coming on. Cemetery, love you. Jackie, I needed more info on what shampoo Michael used. Agreed. He also had some really nice shine spray. So if you haven't watched Pose, I highly, highly recommend watching that, especially if you are a huge Ryan Murphy fan. I can't I just literally can't say anything bad about that show, how it was done at all. And they did get renewed for a second season, so I think that's coming soon. Hopefully in the winter of 2019. I'd like to see that. And so I will bid you all damn fine. Thank you. Yes, yes. We'll have to get together and talk because I think that we're on the same wavelength with shows. So thank you all for coming by. Like I said earlier, Acadia is a little under the weather, but don't worry, we won't be gone from you long. Obviously, we have a holiday coming up, so everyone enjoy your holiday. And we will try to get back in with y'all. Maybe do some special episodes of some stuff soon. And just check us out, superficialgallery.com. You can get all the latest articles in horror. I write some American Horror Story articles. I write the recaps. And I'm at Mells84 on Twitter. Acadia is at Acadia. Superficial Gallery. Also, if you want to mention us as a team. And I hope you all have a fantastic Friday. It's been a pleasure spending my evening with you. And I will talk to y'all later. Bye.